What's going on, guys? We are back tonight with a video for you, and we're doing something a little bit different. I hardly ever do, or this is my first chess video, actually, to date. So I wanted to show, I figured for my Q fans, you guys would enjoy this. This is me versus GamesForDads. So a little grudge match here for the Q fam. So I wanted to show off this game, our first game we played, and it was quite the doozy. Definitely a good game. I'm going to just go over the game review here so you guys can check it out since this was a 7-day game. Our ELOs were both right around 800 when the game started. I want to say his was 800. Mine was like 784 maybe, I think it was, something like that. So very close for our ELOs. So this was a pretty close match overall. He played actually a lot better than I thought he was going to. Because I played a lot of 700, 800 ELO players, and most of them don't really give me a challenge. I think my ELO probably should be a lot higher. I just don't play enough games to get it there. So overall, this was a fun one. So let's walk through it. So I played as white. He played as black. I didn't want to show the basically the start where he's at, just because it's going to tell you who wins the game. I don't want to give that away just yet on who does win this game, but I will say it's very close, and it was a nail-biter for sure. So I opened with the knight there, and he followed up, what is that, the King's Indian attack, French variant. So basically him going for the center of the board. I'm going for the quick castling of the king on the right side here. So basically moving out that pawn, going to push the bishop out as well. So he follows up with the knight. You can see I push the bishop here for the King's Indian attack. It's one of my favorite openings personally. I love this opening. Not a lot of people play it either. It's kind of a strange opening, but it gets the castle really fast. Looks like he follows up there with a pawn, and there's my castle. So right away, like what's that, 4 moves in, already castled. He follows up here, knight. I push the pawn. That opens up my bishop file here and the queen file. So the queen can now kind of move a little bit if needed, but primarily opens that bishop line to run up and pin his queen. So you'll see that here in a second. He pushes out another pawn, still trying to control the center of the board, it looks like. So here I push the bishop up, pinning the queen, or pinning the knight, because with the queen there. Building up that pressure, as it says there. Next, he does drop his bishop down, blocking, protecting his queen there in the event I do take. And I don't think I take here. What do I do? I want to say I push a pawn. Yeah, I push a pawn forward, opening up another queen file there to move my queen out if I need to. You can see here, I believe he pressures my bishop now. Yep. So he drops down. Now I have to make a decision on the bishop. So best move is to take, which I think it does show. Yep, best move is to take. So he goes off and takes as well. Best move. Next up, I push the knight. I believe I opened up. I think I wanted to get my knight out before I pushed the pawns forward. So I'm trying to remember why I pushed that knight out. Or maybe I'm just developing the board state here. Let's see. He drops his knight down to counter. Says it overlooked an opportunity to develop. So, yeah, what was his best move there? His best move says castling. So my knights are lined up now, protecting each other. I do take, offer the trade. He takes back. All right, so next I push the queen to check the king, and my thought process here was he was going to probably push out either his queen and offer a trade or just the bishop, which in turn I could sweep to the other side of the board and pressure that undefended pawn on g7. So that was my play here, to quickly get the queen out and then jump back over and pressure that g7, where he's probably going to castle, just to put pressure on that file down there. So you can see here he does do the bishop as I anticipate. And then I went ahead and slid the queen over to that g7 pawn, putting pressure on that there. So almost forcing a castle at this point You can see he does castle. Smart move. Does not give me the free pawn. That would have been quite bad for him, I think. What do I do next? Next, I think I push a pawn here. Yep. So I push a pawn, offering a trade here. I want to break up the center of his board. But I think this is where I missed an opportunity. So I did not see he has that bishop on e5. So this is why it's saying an inaccuracy. My original thought was he was going to take the pawn and offer the trade. But it does open up my my pawn on b2 here to get snatched up. So I did see it after I made the play, but by then it was just too late. And I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to get snagged on that pawn. And sure enough, he does see it. Now pressuring my rook, so I'm going to slide the rook over to repressure his bishop, which it does say is the best course of attack. He does make a miss here. His best play, honestly, would have been to back up one space and pressure the knight. But I think he backs up a lot further there than he probably should have, because he definitely could have had the pressure on the knight there, which would have been a good move. Next up, let me think. What do I do? Oh, so that him backing up now, the main reason I moved the rook, not only to pressure his bishop, but pressure the pawn there on b7. So you can see now I have open line of file there for a free piece that I capitalize on, and it looked like the game really liked that. Great move. Yes. So I did find the best move there. And I believe he now pressures my rook with his bishop. So this is going to force me back. I put pressure on the pawn on c5 now, I believe. So dropping down, pressuring c5, undefended pawn. He pushes a pawn forward here. I don't know. That one didn't make a lot of sense to me. I feel like he probably could have either protected the pawn on c5, maybe backing his bishop up, or potentially just taking on c4 and starting a play that way. I don't really understand that move there. I think that was, let's see, what was his best move. Yeah, his best move was pressuring my rook, but I don't even know if that's the best move because it just allows me to take on c5. So I don't know. Let's see. So I do drop down the queen now. What was the reasoning here? Looks like I wanted to support that. Oh, I anticipated him taking the c4 pawn with his pawn on d5, which would then, dropping the queen back, would allow me to run up and take his rook if he missed that little movement there. He doesn't, though. He looks like he adds a support. What's it say? It's a mistake. Misses a chance to block an attack on a vulnerable piece. So could have jumped up and nailed my queen there. That would have been a pretty good move. So he does drop his bishop down, now adding pressure to that trade-off there. I do capture, pressuring his bishop as well. Sorry about that. Somebody tried calling me. It's always when you're filming. A little scam call rolls in. So he backs the bishop up. I go ahead and take that pawn on c5. Looks like I missed a better move, though, running up the rook, pressuring the bishop. Interesting. He slides his rook over to the c8, pressuring my rook now, basically offering the trade. So I didn't want to trade here because I didn't want his queen on that c file to be able to drop down. So I went ahead and defended my rook with the knight in hopes that he would take my rook and then I could take with the knight, then pressuring his bishop again. But he does not go that route. He actually moves his queen now, which is a really good move. This actually had me quite stumped here for a while. I did not know what I wanted to do in this situation. It felt like he had me basically trapped here where I was going to lose something, probably that rook. So I did decide to slide my rook over to defend even further And this is the play he gets me. Boom. So he takes. I take with the knight. Oh, no, so this is the play. He slides over with his rook. So now I'm pinned. My knight is pinned. So basically, if I don't move, or sorry, yeah, so my knight's pinned, right? So if I move my knight, he runs his rook down, and it basically checkmates me because I'm pinned in there with my king, right? I can block with the bishop on f1, so I guess it's not checkmate, but basically really screws my game up here. So looking for an out, I see the pawn on d3. I can push forward to offer a trade, basically defending the knight, which now forces an attack on d4 with his pawn. So basically sacrificing the pawn. But what does it do? It allows me to position my queen to a better spot for this attack, right? So I can basically move my queen over to defend that knight on c5. So if you watch, I push that pawn forward. It does look like it's a mistake, but in my mind, it's not. I think it's a worthy sacrifice. I don't believe this is a mistake because it does allow me to open up that file for the queen. So you'll see he takes here, best move, because it is a free piece I offered. But that does allow me to slide the queen over, which is a great move. So now I am defended on the knight. And this is where he throws a monkey wrench in my plan. He pulls that bishop up. And it does call it a blunder, but it takes a second to realize why it's a blunder, at least for me. Because the way I see it is now, he's got 3 pieces on that knight protected where I only have 2. So it looks like I'm losing here quite badly. And reason being is my thought was, okay, so I move the knight, capture his bishop. It puts pressure on his queen, right? But it opens up his bishop now to kill my queen, right? So that's the problem I was facing. And then what happens is my knight takes his queen, his rook drops down, takes my rook, puts me in check. So he wins the trade. That's where I was like, oh man, he's got me pinned here. But what I finally realized was I take his bishop. He does exactly what I thought. He runs down his bishop, now threatening my rook. So when I take knight to queen here, he not only does I lose my rook, but then I want to say I would lose my knight as well, right? So he kills my rook, puts me in check, I move away, and then I lose my knight as well. So I would basically lose the rook and the knight here. But what I spotted is run that rook up on c1 up to c8, killing his rook. So basically not taking the queen here, taking the rook, forcing the check, which now he has to back away, and then I capture the queen. So that's the play that both of us missed originally. I didn't see it until last second, and I was like, oh, man, I think I got him now, because he missed it. I almost missed it. I thought for sure he had me there. So ran the rook up. His king backs away. I now take the queen. So now I'm up quite a bit here. He takes the knight back as expected. I dash up, put him in check. He blocks the check. I come back down, pressuring the pawns. He moves in to protect. Now I have a passed pawn. I can start pushing to the end game, getting my queen back online. So actually, when I dropped the rook down, I wanted to protect this pawn. I didn't want it getting snagged up by the bishop here, so I had to drop the rook. He moves the king. He's trying to rush over, block the pawn. I push the pawn. Not the best move. It looks like I should have checked the king there. So I ended up doing that, this is why. Now it comes up to where his king's over here, basically pressuring that passed pawn, which was not good for me. I jump up, protect it. He jumps up, pressures me. I back up, out of trouble. Now it's a standoff between our setup right here. So really, at this point, it turns into a pawn game with the remaining pieces on the board. But you can see I do have 4 pawns on the right with my king to his 3, and his king now is trapped. So that puts him in a position to where his 3 pawns versus my 4 plus my king is not great for him, because I can now push my king into the fray, which is what I do. You'll see he pushes a pawn. I start getting my king activated to come up and take these pawns. So now I have several pawns pushing up, basically to pressure his king and push it away from the pawn I'm protecting. He pushes down. You can see he's just stalling here. I push up, push down, and you can see I'm activating the king here. So either way he goes, pushes down, I'm going to take one of the other pawns and basically start pushing back up. So my thought was if he pushes down on d4, the pawn down on d4, I could take it with the bishop or with my e-pawn, but probably the bishop would be better because I really want the e-pawn available in case I needed to take with f, the f3 pawn. Then I had the e3 or the e2 pawn to jump into the f slot to push up to check the king. So that was kind of my idea there, was I wanted to keep path on the king. He moves down, but then realizes, I think that was the last play of the game, he realizes the game's over, and he concedes. So we did get the win there. Very good game, though, overall. My accuracy was pretty high, almost an 85% on the accuracy, which is pretty good. Even his was really good, though, at a 79. So overall, great game. He actually had me beat here on the opening, you can see. He had the great symbol versus my best symbol. I had him beat on the mid game and on the late game, though. But yeah, overall, good game between us. So let me exit here. You can see this is for sure GamesForDads. My win actually dropped him quite a bit on his elo. He's now down to 637. He was showing 800 that game. And then you can see my elo jumped up decently. I think I gained 40 points on that game, so not too shabby. But all right, guys, I figured I'd show off our game. I figured you guys would like to see myself versus GamesForDads here for a little chess off. I think we both had a good time with it. So let me know in the comments if you guys enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching, and have a good night, guys.